So I'm going to be leading this. I'm going to be leading this presentation this morning, and after I've done a few slides, my colleague Kathy would also lead a few slides, and then afterwards, there's going to be a time for question and answer. So as we go through the conversations, please write down questions you'd like to ask. We also have a previous participants in our mentorship program coming to share firsthand information about their experiences, their gains, and maybe this is going to be something that will deepen this conversation for you as well. So please feel free to note down your questions as we go along. So before we will get started, I'll talk a little bit about what we should expect today, an overview of the ASPA mentorship programs. We'll have a little bit of student testimonials and the Q&A session. But I would like to get a big backgrounder about everyone present here today. So what I will be doing just to get you started is to launch a quick poll which will pop up on your screen shortly. There are 3 questions in this poll. I would like you to take about a minute to respond to the poll. And the poll should be on your screen now.
So I can see the, oh, good. Answers are coming in. Just wanted to double check that the poll is working.
Right. Thanks, Kari. Okay, it's going to be a few more seconds clicking. And I'm going to end the poll in 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you for your responses. I'm going to share the results in a moment. So the first question says, your program, MBA, MFin, and MSCM, we see that, there's a bigger number of MBA students, which is good. We have a fair reflection of the MFins and the MSCM as well. So that kind of makes for a very balanced group this morning. Are you currently employed? We see almost an equal number of people engaged in both full-time and part-time work, which is also something to think about. But we see a bigger number of respondents saying we are not currently employed. And I think this is a great conversation to have, because some of the benefits of this mentorship program will help you get a lot more, develop more skills in leadership, develop more skills in helping you to hone your self-marketing, understanding the labor markets, understanding industry sectors, and all of those components as well. Have you mentored before as part of a structured mentorship program? Interestingly, we have a few people who've also taken the lead in these programs, and we have other people who are hoping to benefit as well. So I want to say thank you for sharing. And now we have a good background of our audience. I'm going to move on with the presentation. Okay, just give it a minute. My system is hanging and I cannot advance. Okay, thank you. So what's a mentor and who is a mentee? We just take some definitions just to get, just to give ourselves some perspective. So a mentor essentially is an experienced professional who helps and guides, career development for another individual. So essentially a mentor would be a business professional with so many years of experience under their belts, who understands their market, who understand, core business value, who has been there, done that, and who has offered to provide mentorship for another individual. In our own case, we're talking about business leaders, C-suite executives from different occupational areas and sectors who have experiences, who have leadership, who understands the market, who has played in the market. So we have brought together these groups of highly experienced professionals to provide guidance and advice to postgraduate students. I want to quickly mention that the mentor-mentee relationship is not about handing you a job. So it's going to be a false expectation to expect that your mentor will help you land your next job. Our focus is on fostering that relationship that can help you advance your skills. So think about your leadership skills, understanding organizations within the larger scope of practice, industry sectors. So you are going to take the lead in this conversation so that you set specific goals for yourself and determine what you will want to achieve from the mentorship relationship. A mentor provides specific insights on jobs, career prospects, leadership opportunities, business strategy, and this is a great way for you to network with people that we don't come across on everyday basis. You now have the opportunity to build and develop these relationships. A mentee, on the other hand, will be you, an ASPA, MBA, MFIN, or MSCM student. Who receives professional development advice and guidance from somebody who is a high level professional within the industry of your potential practice or some or an industry you like to play in. Like I said before, you have to know what you want. You have to set your goals for the mentorship meetings as they begin to happen, and my colleague will talk a little bit about that. I'd like to comment that within the MBA program, this is the 9th year of our mentorship program, and on the average we had about 30 full-time and part-time students going to the mentorship program every year. For our MFINE program, this is the 5th year of running the mentorship program, so we've recorded huge success over the years. But for the supply chain program, this is going to be the 4th year, which is novel and something that I want to be a part with if I was in that program. Again, we're looking to record successes in this area for the MSCM program. The benefits of being a mentee are enormous. I want to start with saying again that, just reiterating that you need to begin to think about what is it that I want to get from this mentor-mentee relationship? What is my goal? Start to develop a goal for yourself. A mentee can help you expand your professional network, get to meet other professionals you've never had everyday contacts with, and help you to develop network in that area. Again, I think two keywords that you should take with you is that a mentor can provide that guidance and the advice that you need for career success, for just breaking into your industry or potential market where you like to play in a sector, a specific niche. So in that way, they're helping you to achieve a better growth in your career. In terms of skill development, we're looking specifically at honing your leadership skills, self-esteem, and confidence, building and developing your communication skills and your ability to network, especially with C-suite executives that we don't see on an everyday basis. So this provides a good opportunity to be able to do that. Again, great opportunity for personal and professional development in that perspective. Another very important point is the ability to see the market from the perspective of people who actually play in that market on everyday basis. They know the strategy, they know the market, they know the business, they have the metrics, and so they can share all of that information and share that advice as you go on in the program. I want to talk a little bit about the application process. Applications are open already on the career portal. My colleague will delve into this a lot more. The application deadline is October 8th, so we expect you to have filled your mentorship request form and submitted by October 8th. Something to mention is that you need to put careful thought to filling out your mentorship request form. We want you to be very objective with filling the form and to really think about how your responses will affect the decision making. Something that I'd like to comment on is that your responses in the mentorship request form will be used to create a bio for you that will be sent to the mentor. So make sure that you provide detailed responses to each of the questions. All current MBA, MFIN, MSCM students are eligible to apply for the MSCM program. Something to note is that if we have two student applications that have similar mentorship goals, priority will be given to the student who is closer to graduation so that they have the opportunity to complete that. So the first step in the process is for you to complete your mentor request form on the ASPA career portal, and then submit your resume and participate in an interview to discuss your career goals and just to get your readiness for the program. And if you need support with customizing your resume for this purpose, that's something that we're happy to help with within the frame of time that we still have within the program. If you're successful in the program, then we will contact you. The actual matching will happen in December and going into early January. We'll contact you for an interview. We'll interview you, get to know your background, your interests, your goals in the mentorship program. And then at that point, we will be able to match you with a mentor in December and early January. I hope I have that date correct, Kathy, December and January.
Yep. The only thing that I would, yeah, those dates are correct. The only thing that I would add in is that if your program is longer than 1 year, you may want to consider waiting until your second year to apply for the program. Most people only get to go through the mentorship program once, just due to the number of potential mentors that we have. So going in the second year also means that you probably likely have a stronger idea of what your career goals are and what kind of jobs you're going to be looking for towards the end of your program. So just want to plant that seed to think about as well.
Thanks. So I'll turn things in now to Katie to just provide more in-depth information on the program dates and the other criteria that we'll be looking at in the mentorship program. Katie.
Okay, wonderful. So as Oluwole said, the applications close October 8th, so you've got a little bit of time yet. I'm going to get into how to submit a strong application in a minute. The mentoring meetings really take place between January and August. Our expectation is if you are part of a one-on-one match, that you will be taking part in 5 matches throughout that time. And there's also a group match option, which I'll get into in a bit. During the program, if you are in a one-on-one match, you will be required to complete 2 online feedback forms over the course of the program. And then we ask your mentor to also fill out a feedback form, but only at the end. Let me just, I'm bouncing between 2 screens here. So let's just advance slides. So what does make a great application? Remember that we may or may not know you. Oluwole and Charlotte for sure likely haven't met you yet. So make sure that you're really clear on your goals. And this also, as Oluwole said, we are going to take what you submit and provide a version of that to your potential mentor. So really make sure that you're clear on your goals. Why do you want a mentor? What do you anticipate getting out of this? And remember, this is not about getting a job. This is about getting insight. This is about getting professional development. This is about expanding your professional network. We also expect you as the mentee to take the lead. So once we have matched you with a mentor, if you are successful in your application, you are the one who needs to set up every meeting. So that will, we also expect you to reach out to your mentor after we've matched the 2 of you via email. We anticipate that you will be the one to start that conversation by email, take the lead. And as part of the application process, we want to see that you have that initiative. So yeah, just keeping in mind, not all of our mentors are C-suite. Many of them are, not all of them are, but they're all very busy. We know you are too, but they're dedicating their time to this. So making sure that you're being in the lead there, and make sure that you can meet those minimum requirements of the program. So meeting 5 times over the 8 months. We expect you to, sorry, I'm mildly distracted. Oluwole's moving things on his screen and it's lighting up on my side. One thing that might be really helpful for every meeting is to actually create an agenda, which would be based on the goals that you have put as part of your application. If you haven't gone in to take a look yet on the career portal, it's under surveys, or you can just search for mentor once you've logged in, and the application form should show up for you. Please shoot me an email if it's not. But I lost my train of thought there. Kelly, can you anticipate what I was trying to say there? Nope. Sorry, folks, it's a little bit early here in Winnipeg. Just making sure that you can meet those time, make sure that you meet the time commitments. Group matches, like we said, it's one meeting. Likely it would be with up to maybe 3 other people, so a maximum of 4 students, meeting with 1 professional once, where they would provide some insight into their business, their field, their industry, something that matches what your goals are. Make sure that when you're talking with your mentor, what is it that makes, like, how do they want to communicate with you? Is email their preferred method? How much notice do they want when you send a meeting request? Do they expect an agenda? Oh, that's where it was. So the agenda piece. Think about what you want to talk about with your mentor when you are making your application. If we can't get a sense of what it is that you want to talk to a mentor about, or it seems like you're still a little unformed in some of your career goals, and if you're still in the first year of a program that has more than 1 year, we might put you in more of a group match setting as opposed to a one-on-one, because you do need to be able to lead those meetings. Just going to double check my slides and make sure that I haven't got anything, missed anything there. I've already talked a bit about the types of mentoring relationships, so I won't belabor this point. How long you meet with a mentor if you're in a one-on-one match, which is the majority of our matches. Let me be clear, the majority of our matches are one-on-one. How long you meet each time will be up to you and your mentor to decide, but you might want to have those conversations with your mentor before setting up the first meeting. How long do they have to give to these meetings? So, tips.
Can I add in something?
Of course.
Sorry. So, and the other thing, and I think Rhiannon and Richard will talk about this, but be creative about the meetings. Like, they don't always have to be just one-on-one meetings. I mean, you can, as your relationship begins to grow, most of the meetings will likely be virtual meetings because it just is more time effective. But, you know, if you feel comfortable and confident and you've developed that rapport, and you want to go in and do a tour of their offices, or you want to meet with somebody else that they might work with, or you want to invite your mentor to an event that's happening, and do something a little bit more creative, feel free to do that and suggest those things. But be open to the fact they may be just comfortable doing what they agreed to do in the beginning, but be creative.
Thank you, Kelly. It's a really good point. So once you're in a match, that's what these tips are really geared for, is communication, just like with everything, is really important. So you need to be clear on what your goals are, not just on your application form, but with your mentor. And that will help them help you the best. So what kind of feedback works for you? You're going to want to let them know that. Tell them how they can be most helpful to you. Make it easy for them to give you honest, specific feedback, and ask for it early in your relationship. Again, it's up to you to identify your objectives as well as keep the relationship focused and moving forward. Communicate clearly also is another important thing. Initiate contact with your mentor if you have questions or if you'd like to discuss something. If you're not quite sure what to do for your next meeting, take a look at your mentor form or mentor request form again, where you identified your needs, and communicate those with your mentor as well. An important one is to expect support and not miracles. So what we mean by that is you can expect a certain level of support and advice from a mentor, but they can't solve problems for you. They're not going to offer you a job. You might get a job connected to some of the relationships that you make out of this. But as you'll see on the mentor request form, if you ask your mentor for a job as part of this mentoring relationship, that can damage your ability to continue participation in this. This is about establishing relationships and expanding your understanding of the industry. Perhaps one of the most valuable qualities that a mentor can offer is an alternative point of view based on their length of experience. They can put the situation into a different perspective, offer feedback. They can serve as a sounding board for you as well. and maybe hopefully also identify other resource people. We also want you to get in touch before a concern becomes a problem. And also keep in mind that sometimes when we're in a mentoring match and we're not able to meet with people one-on-one, we might have misread the tone of an email, or we might take silence as the other person being offended or being unhappy with you in some way. And likely they're just busy. So if those thoughts start to come up as part of this conversation, as part of your mentoring match, get in touch with them before it becomes a problem, and just, you know, have a conversation about that. If any problems do arise, definitely get in touch with myself, Charlotte, and Olawole, and we'll do what we can to help. But that infrequently happens. You also want to think about the types of questions that you will want to ask your mentor. So there are some suggestions on the webpage, on the Asper's web pages. There's some potential questions for you to ask. Could be things like, what aspects of the job search were particularly challenging? Any tips on how to navigate them? Or the challenges they faced, particularly in terms of how they got into their industry or position, key success factors for their industry, those kinds of things. So be creative and really engage them in conversation. Oh, I've gone one too far. So like I said, create an agenda for your meeting. And it doesn't have to be at this time we'll talk about this, and at this time we'll talk about this, but let them know these are the topics that you're wanting to talk about with them. Oh, we've got get in touch. Oh, no, we're done this one already. I guess I was slow on advancing my slides on the other screen that I've got going on over here. Sorry about that, folks. So for people who participate in a one-on-one match, you will be eligible for co-curricular recognition. So that's upon successful completion of the program. You've had your 5 meetings, they've gone well, etc. It's an official record of university approved and facilitated activities that support your development. We would submit your name and then you have to request that co-curricular record for yourself. It is not part of your transcript, but it is something that comes as part of your package from the University of Manitoba. Now I know that both of our guests are here, so we're pretty much on time for where we're at. So we've got today 2 participants, or 2 past participants in the mentorship program. We've got Rhiannon Lear-Blatcher. Some of you may have met Rhiannon. She's been leading our info sessions for quite some time and is also the manager of marketing and communications here at Asper. And we also have Richard Barris, commercial account manager intern at RBC. Rhiannon is a recent graduate and Richard will be graduating in December. So some of you may have had classes with both of them. But let's start with Rhiannon. Do you want to, I'm just, sorry, stopping sharing. If folks want to maybe turn it on to speaker view so you can see Rhiannon a little bit clearer. Rhiannon, please share a little bit more about your mentoring experience, maybe some of, if there were any challenges, what you found particularly helpful.
Well, great. Well, thank you for having me at the session this morning, and really nice to see everybody here. Yes, I'm happy to share my experience about being part of the executive mentorship program because I really found it very valuable in terms of my MBA experience. To give you a bit of a background, I took the MBA while working full-time, having 2 kids. And I remember when I first started it, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to add anything to my workload or to my class load, including something like the executive mentorship program. I remember thinking, oh, there's no time. I don't have time for that. But as I went through the program, in one of the terms, I decided, oh, you know, I'm just going to go to the info session, something exactly like Katie and Olawole are hosting right now, and just to hear what this is all about. Because I had this idea in my mind that I would have to somehow plan to go to a boardroom somewhere or somewhere downtown with rigid schedules and try to fit it in. And I remember thinking, I can't do that. But I went to the session, and after hearing the career development team speak about it, they sold me. It was pretty quick, actually, because I learned about the flexibility in it, the options, and knowing that I think there are, on the list at that point of mentors, there were about 52 different individual mentors that you could request to be with, depending on your area of interest. So I thought, and in terms of the flexibility and the 5 meetings throughout a large time frame of the January till August, I think, right? There's a lot of room with that, a lot of room to fit it in. So I decided to go for it, and I went through the process of, as Katie would have mentioned, of filling out an application, doing my resume. And one of the things that I did in my case, what I was looking for was I was interested in connecting with a female leader to hear her perspective about what it was like to move up in the industry or in the business world while being a female, while having a family, while trying to work full time, all of those sorts of things. And I had attended a session. It was actually one of the undergraduate, the big gala events at the beginning of the year, and Kim Ulmer from RBC spoke, and I really found her inspiring. I found her real, and I actually asked if she was part of the mentorship program. And at that point, she wasn't, but the Career Development Center, and it was Ivy at that point, that said, we can reach out to them and ask. So they reached out to her, was able to get her into the system. And in the end, I did have the option of selecting 3. I had 3 individuals. I think Kim was at the top, where it's almost like you put your name in and they select you, or you select them. And I found the process really helpful. And in the end, I was able to be signed up with Kim. Kim Ulmer is she is the regional president of RBC. So she has a really large portfolio, all of Western Canada. She leads all the staff and employees for the Royal Bank, or RBC in Canada here, which is one of our big banks. So a really busy job. I remember when she spoke at the BCom dinner, she spoke all about her family and fitting it all in. So that's how I knew there was a little bit of that tie. So in the end, one of the things that I found really helpful that the Career Development Center, like before I met with Kim for my very first time, was having a meeting with them and really being clear about what are you looking for out of this mentorship. I think you need to go in there and have a purpose. So if you just want to mentor just for the sake of having a mentor, I don't think it's the best way to approach it, but to really sit down and say, okay, through this is what I want to learn. This is why I'm doing it. This is what I want to get out of the connection. I think it's definitely much more than just networking. It's about how do you help with your leadership growth. So for me, I knew I wanted to hear her story. I wanted to hear about the balance in life of career, family, being a female, and being in that high of a leadership role. How does she navigate that? How does she have a life? How does she balance that? So I had some clear direction with that, and I felt more confident because of that, because I spoke about that with the Career Development Center beforehand. But it's funny, the very first session I had with Kim, I remember, like when I said before, I pictured these executive mentorship sessions being in a boardroom somewhere, but we actually met at Pizzeria Gusto for the very first session downtown. And I remember waiting for her because I was there before her. I didn't want to be late. I made sure to dress nicely. And I felt like I was waiting to meet someone at a blind date. And this whole idea of, are they going to like me? Are they not going to like me? We've seen each other virtually. So it was really nerve-wracking. But right away, it was great, because the thing about these mentors is they've signed up to be part of this as well. In some ways you feel that, it's taking time away from their busy schedule. They're very busy, leaders. Are they going to really want to meet with me? But the great part about it is they've signed up to be part of it too. They wouldn't be there if they didn't want to connect with you. So there is that mutually beneficial relationship that you're getting from that, which is sort of a thing that eases your mind. So I guess, the first meeting really and I think this is my recommendation for anybody. You do, as Katie mentioned, need to have an agenda. When you come and meet, there needs to be, okay, each session you go to, whether it's an hour or an hour and a half, you need to have an idea of what do you want to talk about? What do you want to ask about? But at the same time, you don't want to be too rigid. And in a lot of ways, that very first meeting, it's an opportunity to get to know each other. So for instance, if you were to go on a blind date and immediately start firing off questions, I think that date would probably want to leave. It's the same thing with this. It's taking that time to get to know each other more in a relaxed way. How does the conversation flow without forcing an agenda too much? But I did find that, and that was kind of for each session. Say you did have 3 things on an agenda, you might only get to 2 because the conversation just flowed naturally. And I think that is a key thing. Have an agenda, but don't be too set on it, because I think then it creates too much rigidity and it's not a natural conversation that you normally would have with people. So those were key for me. For me with her, each session we would meet in a different location. 2 of ours were virtual because we were in the middle of COVID. And what I found was it was actually really amazing to meet with her during that time. I was always so impressed because she's so busy. But when I met with her, she'd turn everything off and just focus on our conversation, which I found it was amazing. I had a lot of respect for her. But to be able to connect with her at the beginning of COVID or during COVID and hear how she was managing such a large organization through all of that was so, for those I didn't need an agenda, for those I just listened and learned about some of those things. So there are things that will happen in the world or in their life, in your life, that can be added to the agenda that you would never maybe have predicted in terms of why you've signed up for the executive mentorship program. But I feel that for me, I learned so much about leadership from her, about balance, about real life things. And I feel that, you make that relationship with them, and you learn a lot in class, you learn a lot academically, but this was this real life, being able to ask these hard questions with another person who's been through it was very, very helpful in my leadership growth. And just as a note, it was one of those things where, at the end, I really felt that, even though they've signed up to be part of this, I sent her flowers, I did those sorts of things. I'm just throwing that in there in terms of, how do you thank them? How do you ensure that connection in the end ends on a great note? Because it is a funny thing to say, okay, this is our 5th meeting, we're done. But in the end, a lot of the times, I think these mentors, you will have a relationship with them as time goes. You'll be their friend on LinkedIn, you'll comment, she said, anytime you want to reach out, any questions that you have. So while these are 5 meetings, a lot of the time they are lifelong relationships in a lot of ways. So anyways, in terms of that, I feel that it is very rewarding. Make sure that you know what you're looking for. Take the time to really think about the type of mentor that you want to connect with and why. And as I said, come in with ideas of what you want to connect about, but also be open to being flexible and letting the relationship grow naturally. So that's my thought on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhiannon. That was, I've heard you share little bits and pieces about your mentoring relationship in the past, but never quite that much in depth. So thank you so much. And those are some really great little tips as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I know you have a meeting that you have to get off to.
I have a few more minutes. If anybody has any questions, I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Do you have enough time for Richard to go first, and then we can maybe do some questions?
For sure.
I want to say hi to Rhiannon. Hi.
Hi, Richard. Nice to hear you're almost done as well. Yeah.
Nice to see you too.
You too.
Well, this is a perfect transition time. Richard, do you want to just take over?
Oh, sure. Well, first, I just want to kind of correct a bit the information. No, it's okay. It is fine. So I actually graduated this spring. Yeah, yeah, this is 2021. Thank you. And then I graduated with a concentration in finance. And then the good news is actually I received the job opportunity prior to graduate. So right now I'm doing a commercial account manager intern, which is it's a 6-month training program, and they train you to become a commercial account manager at the RBC. And then I was fortunate enough to get Aaron Martineau. He was my mentor for this executive mentorship. I would say that Rhiannon, I think you're really lucky to have Kim Ulmer, because man, she's really busy, and then all the work she's done in the bank. It's just amazing. So, and then what I'd like to share with you is I kind of make notes here. What are the benefits and what to prepare? I have 5 benefits from these mentorships. Honestly, we're not probably supposed to talk about it, but this mentorship can potentially leads you to a job opportunity. I have the opportunity to talk to Aaron, and then throughout the mentorship, and then we kind of like develop my career path, and he was able to direct me to the right directions. And second of all, sometimes it actually helps you to write some of your assignment. So to give you a bit of a examples, we have some executive leadership program, and then we have to talk about like the leader that you feel inspiring, like you admire, and then you can talk about it with your mentor, and you can see like their leadership style, how they lead a big team, and then you can take that as a inspiration to write. So this is an example. The third one is you can obviously expand your network. So a bit of a background, I'm originally from Indonesia. I know nobody here. I literally just want to go and then I want to take my MBA. And I try to like, and then do my best and then see if I can make a way and live here. So it's a really good way to connect with the people, all the network that will inspire you within the specific industry that you're going to focus at. So, because I have a concentration in finance, I really want to work in the finance industry. So it's a really good way to really connect. And then Aaron is a really key player in this industry. So he knows a lot of people. He was able to connect me with so many players in this industry. In fact, he actually he asked me, Richard, why don't you go to this RBC networking event? He's actually looking for talent. So he sent me the invitation, and I was able to attend that and really learn a lot of it. The fourth benefit is that I understand that within the career development, we have the resume. Was it, Katie, like a resume training, right? Like you write your resume.
Yeah.
But I think it's, in my personal opinion, I think it's a bit more academic. So I kind of challenge my mentor. So this is how I write my resume academically. What is it like from the employer perspective? You kind of like turn the table around. So we had the discussion, and then I think it was a really good feedback I received. So you want to see what the HR actually looking at your profile. The fifth one, which I find it really, really beneficial, we had a role play of interview. Like assuming I'm applying for RBC, Aaron, like what kind of question you're gonna ask for me? We play around with that. And it was really amazing because when I had my interview, real job interview, it was the same question. So so it's like, well, I kind of know what to answer that question. It was a funny thing. So that's like the 5 top benefit I experienced from this mentorship. So what to prepare? I got 4 things here. The first one, I think you need to stay updated with the current trade industry. So in the banking wise, so what's the prime rate? How do you charge your client? What's the right rate? Like who is your competition? I know there's like RBC, there's TD, BMO, CIBC, Scotiabank, and so on, and also the credit union. Don't forget about that. So second thing is, I think you have 5 sessions, if I'm not mistaken. But in my case, it's 6 because I have the introduction too. So I have the first introduction and then the five sessions. I had 2 of them physical. We actually meet in person, and then the 4 of them were kind of doing it virtually. What's nice about it is that I was able to set the agenda. So Aaron were like, what do you want to talk about? I mean, I'm not gonna like put you to all this information which may not be useful for you. You lead this. Like it was a really good opportunity. So I was like setting an agenda. For example, what is it like in commercial banking in Canada? How is it comparable to Indonesia commercial banking? We have that discussion. What is it like leadership in banking? How do you people navigating through what's all these people with all the different nationality background, in such an intercultural environment? And how do you stay competitive within like all these other banks? So we kind of have this agenda set. And then I think Rhiannon also mentioned that try to also be flexible. I think there's also something that they want to talk to you about. The third one is ask critical questions. you should be able to, like, apart from setting the agenda, but also asking something really. I think I had a moment where Aaron didn't have the answer to my question. It was like really well, and then the idea is that it's bringing another step where he was also benefiting from this message because he was also learning something. So in that scenario, I was able to leverage my Indonesian banking experience and try to talk about what's RBC approach. And do you think that it can be met? Do you think that RBC can also do the same thing? Well, we haven't done that before, but it's actually a good idea. And the last thing is you also have to provide feedback because it's more of a like not a one-man show. It has to be like a two-way of relationship, right? It's not just like you're asking always for feedback, asking for like what do I improve, but the idea is also, I think you have a way to provide something back to, like something feedback, like how do you think the mentorship can be better in the next term, or well, any question or any value that you can bring up to your mentor. So I think that's all I have to say. Katie, thank you.
That was really insightful. Thank you both so much for coming in. I hope the students who are here have learned a lot. While we both still have you, let's throw it open for questions. Do any of the students here have questions for either Rhiannon, Richard, or Olawole and myself? Just use the raise hand function or feel free to put it in the chat. Gautam.
I'll monitor the chat for you, Kadi.
Sure. Gautam, feel free to unmute and ask your question.
Thanks, Katie. So my question is for you, Richard. As you mentioned that you had a lot of discussion towards your resume, towards your job. So how did you channel your conversation in that direction? Because usually it's informal conversation that you lead towards the agenda. So how did you channel that conversation towards your mentor getting convinced to have a role play? Because I think it's a really great thing. So just got some tips on that.
So I don't have a specific trait. I just ask. That's how simple it was. Like Aaron, I know that we have like 2 sessions left, and I really want to benefit from this. And I'm approaching the day of my graduation, so I'm gonna be in a market real soon. I would love to get a bit of your professional insight on what do you think about my resume right now, and then is it maybe possible, on our last session that we talk about some role playing, so that the thing is, sometimes it's also good to build your confidence, so that you kind of have a bit of a sense of affirmation that you can do this interview. So when you're actually had the real interview, you're like, well, you've done this practice before, and it wasn't that bad. Or if it's that bad, you know what to improve. And then at the end of the role play, he actually gave me some tips. So for example, I can give you one specific example. We have an interview about, I think one of the questions was, why RBC should hire you? And then I had my answer based on my previous work experience. And then his feedback was, Richard, I think your experience is going to pigeonhole you into one specific direction only. I think you should be able to answer it in more general and not very practical, so that it's give you the idea of versatility. So this is just one example how I received the feedback. And then when I had the real interview, because I had the interview with not just with Aaron, but Aaron was my VP. And then there's also other VP. His name is Raj Patel. So we have like interview with the 2 VP. So it's really helps me to boost my confidence, and also at the same time kind of answer the right question, or the answer that they kind of expect me to have. I hope it's answered your question.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions about either for Rhiannon or Richard, or about the process?
If anyone has a question for Rhiannon, she does have limited time with us, so now would be the time to ask it.
If there are no questions,
I guess I answered everything, right? If you do have questions, otherwise let me know. Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Janet.
Janet.
Do you have any tip for the first meeting to really reduce that nervous wracking?
You know what? I think in a lot of ways, it's just normal. And the reason I said that is I think it's normal to feel that way anytime you meet someone new. And I think when you know that this individual is as successful as they are, I mean, for myself, at least, you feel like, okay, I want to make sure I make a good impression in that. I think in the end, the way to alleviate that is to maybe just have a little plan in your mind, you know, and as I said, like, knowing that, okay, right now, maybe there's some questions you'd like to ask that you feel like, okay, tell me a little bit more about this or that. I think being prepared is helpful. And having a little agenda is good. But in the end, they've learned about you beforehand. You've learned about them. So they've chosen to come. So it's having that comfort in knowing that they want to be there as well. But I think it's just normal to feel that way anytime you meet someone new like that. So it's being okay with feeling that way, having a little bit of a plan, and yeah, hopefully that helps, Janet. Right. Thank you, everybody. Good luck with all your mentors. And I know a number of you here, I've had classes with you, and I think there are some new that I haven't, but I hope you really enjoy the MBA program. And I had an amazing experience with it, and all these sort of experiential education components, something like this, are what make it extra memorable. So I hope you really enjoy it. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Rhiannon.
If there are no other questions, please do remember that you can reach out to all of us via email. If you do have questions, don't just open up the career portal on October 8th to fill out your mentorship form. Please take the time to think about the questions. And as Rhiannon said, if there's somebody in particular that you think you might want to have as your mentor, I believe there's a spot on the form for you to put that in. But what we do is we actually pull together, we ask, you know, people who've been in a mentorship program before, we reach out to new people, and we put together a directory of potential mentors. And then if you're accepted into the mentorship program, you'll be given the opportunity to kind of pick your top 3 or 5. I can't remember which it is right now. But you'll be given that chance to kind of identify the folks that you're most interested in. Because like with Rhiannon, she was in marketing, but she chose somebody in finance because of her particular goals. So it's really important that you're involved in that part of picking who you'll have as your mentor.
And also, it's okay to think more holistically than just the industry that you're targeting. So, I mean, as we saw with Rhiannon, she chose someone, you know, who could match her kind of need for information around how do you balance everything as a female leader, with a family, with working full time, so it was something outside of she didn't just automatically choose someone who was a leader in the marketing field, which is where she works. So be creative in terms of how you approach it, and think about like what is going to serve your needs best. And I just wanted to address something that Richard had mentioned, which is, you know, the program states that it's 5 meetings over that 8-month period, but we've arbitrarily picked that 5 because we felt that 5 meetings with a mentor was an optimal amount to be able to allow you to be able to build a relationship and to be able to get comfortable enough to ask some really you know, in-depth questions, and to be able to build a substantive relationship that would add value to you as a student as you progress through your academics and your towards your career goals. So while 5 is kind of the minimum, absolutely we know that depending on the time and the relationship you've built, it can be more. But if it is more, it has to be because both parties agree, right? So I mean, exactly what Rhiannon said, which is, you know, she is able to reach out to Kim, not on a monthly basis, but when she needs something or when she needs some advice. And that's based on the quality of the relationship that she was able to build. So I just wanted to reiterate that as well. And say thank you to Richard for coming and sharing.
My pleasure, Kelly.
And with that, we will wrap up. Thank you all for coming. Our email addresses are in the email from Kelly, I think. If you're interested in connecting with Charlotte or Olawole and you can't find their email address, you should have mine. So shoot me an email and I'll make that connection for you. And and I look forward to seeing all of your applications.
And we can stick around for a couple of minutes if anyone has any questions for us.